Wheel of Fortune and Fantasy is a romance drama comedy film. I didn't know much about this one at all, to be honest. I just grabbed it from the library because it was there, and I'm really into Japanese cinema now. I'm trying to watch more than just samurai films. I've been watching a lot of dramas and war films, anything basically. This one's about 3 different stories. I didn't know. It's basically an ensemble of 3 stories. The first one is about 2 friends who meet up, and one of them's got a new boyfriend, and she doesn't know that the boyfriend is the ex of her friend. So it's a very uncomfortable situation. The second story is about a student who basically got failed by a professor and wants revenge. So he's friends with benefits with a married woman, and he convinces her to seduce the professor to create a scandal. This one was my favorite out of the 3. It's it's like a one-take sort of thing in a room. Really interesting, a little bit erotic, really interesting story. And then the third one is about 2 friends who are living in a world where this virus caused emails to be sent to the wrong people, so people don't focus on emails anymore. They only do writing letters and old school communication. So people sort of lost touch with each other. And it's about a woman who's walking down the escalator and sees a friend and then follows her back and then finds out, why they sort of drifted apart. So this movie was really interesting. I didn't know it was like 3 different stories, because I was wondering, like, the first story when I was watching it, I'm like, this is kind of like low plot, like this is about just a misunderstanding, and then it ended. I'm like, oh, okay, so there's 3 different storylines. If I'd known that, I probably wouldn't have watched the movie, but I still enjoyed it for the middle one. The first one's okay too. I didn't really like the third one at all. Acting's pretty good for all of them. The third one's a little bit weird because it takes place in this like fictional world where people don't email anymore, so they just sort of. But it's interesting to see that sort of concept be brought. What would the world be like if you couldn't use electronic forms of communication? You could only write letters. Would you still write letters? Would you do that? So overall, Wheel of Fortune and Fantasy is a pretty interesting film. It has a really high score on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, so that sort of like tempted me a little bit. But overall, I thought it was an interesting film, not too amazing. I might check out the director's other works though. So I give Wheel of Fortune and Fantasy a 6 out of 10.